So men can metabolize cortisol better than women. Okay, so I started thinking about that. And I've been thinking about in terms of stress and operating, like I'm trying to teach people about de-stressing, being calm, living relaxed in their lives. But there comes a point where that relaxation becomes couch potato-ish, right?
Mhm.
But you need some cortisol, you need some like stress to get things moving and accomplish things. So I have big things that I'm working to accomplish right now. I need some level of cortisol and stress to get there. So I have figured out within my body how to hit about 30%. And at 30%, I can go all day. I can start at 6 in the morning and I can go till 9 p.m. And I'm not exhausted. I occasionally take a 15-minute power break, but it's not. And then I go to bed at 10 o'clock. I'm up at 5. I do my practices in the morning, 6:30 in the morning most days. I'm going again and I go till 7, 8 o'clock at night. I have to operate at 30%. My husband needs to be at 60%. So when we have taught men to operate in anger, right? We have taught people that the only way to accomplish is aggression. Then anger and aggression is the way that we up the cortisol. So fighting against things, war on drugs, war on cancer, war on this, war on that, war against these guys. These guys are our, this enemy, this victim, blah, blah, blah. Fight against, fight against, fight against. And that's how we raise our cortisol. The progression, though, is that you need to lower the aggression cortisol threshold. Like, the water line's up here. I'm blowing bubbles because I can barely breathe. Like, I might have a couple of straws coming out, but literally my stress is here. I need to lower the water line on the stress. And we actually need to go below a certain point and stay there as a reset. And then once you hit the 0 point, and the 0 point is usually a little bit of apathy, like you feel the pull, like I want to do something, but I don't feel like I'm quite there yet. That's the point at which you shift the perspective of fighting against to fighting for.
Mm.
And then you figure out what you love to do. And it starts with what is it you want to read all the time, learn about, do all the time. And if that is grab a chainsaw and cut up logs, go do that. If it's playing pool, if it's art, if it's, I don't know. I mean, pick any number of things you love to do. Go do those things. Learn how to operate at a higher level of cortisol in a state of enjoyment, because then you will seek that out in everything you do. Even in a job that you currently don't like, let's just say you don't like where you work because of the people, but you like the job. You're like, this is what I like to do. So now your perspective shift is I'm going to enjoy every element of what I do, and I'm going to ignore the rest, right? The Courage to be Disliked. You can look at all the different books that are written about it. I'm going to ignore the rest. In other words, Sally's having a really rough day. She's bitching in her office again. I am not going to go to Sally's office, right? I'm going to let Sally have her whatever. And then I'm going to go to Sally later. I'm going to ask her one question. I'm going to smile at her, be friendly, polite, because I'm not going to change my mood because Sally's having a bad day. But then I'm going to go back to my desk and I'm going to sing. I'm going to be happy. I'm going to do my thing, right? I'm going to go do my work, whatever. That perspective shift is all an internal job, but we have to operate at some level of quote unquote stress, and we grow through stress. And I started saying this a lot. We grow through stress, but we often get stuck in stress because we don't know what to do to grow.
Mhm.
What's the next
There's no
step? How do I grow?
Well, there's no balance. Like you were saying earlier, we have this kind of masculine mentality in our society anyway. Push forward, drive, force it through, get it done. And even as women, we work so hard within that dynamic and wonder why we're always burnt out, it's not
Yeah.
working, because we forget that the other side of the pendulum, the other side that we eventually have to be swinging over to, all of us,
Yeah.
is the rest and the
Yeah.
reset and to be
Yeah.
able to bring it down, like you said, and take time for ourselves. And it's interesting because I signed up for I think it was like the Cycle Sync Your Business.
Mm.
And it's really opened my eyes to this idea of how in a man's body, in a 24-hour period, he will go through all four seasons, which is
Mm,
why usually in the morning, he's in his spring. He's waking up, he's got a lot of energy, everything's blooming, everything's going. And
yeah.
then in his summer, which is, those key work hours, he's getting through there. And then once he's starting to get ready to head home, he gets into his fall. So he's starting to slow down and want to relax a little bit. And then once he gets home, he's got a little bit of that before he hits his winter and he's ready for bed, right?
Yeah.
But women, we don't do that. We operate within a 28 and a half day cycle, just like the moon. So one week we are in our spring, the next week we are in our summer. So ours is longer. And, I think it's funny because, you always hear men say that women are so emotional. No, 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 no. Men are just as emotional if you pay attention to them. The difference is it's quicker. It happens throughout the day. Whereas
Yeah.
women sit in it for a lot longer. They feel it a lot more because that's what
Yeah.
we're designed to do. We're designed to feel. That's what makes it so that we can wake up and get the baby in the middle of the night.
Right.
So this idea that we can operate from this constant go, 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 force, force, force. Eventually, honey, when the roller coaster gets to the top of the ride, it has to come back down. You have to
Mm,
go back down into the valley. Sometimes you have to sit in the sadness. Sometimes you have to sit with the grief. Sometimes you have to sit with the aggravation and the frustration.
yes. Yes.
I just wanted to punch somebody over the weekend. I didn't, but
Tempting.
sometimes the stress gets to be so much, and many women, especially, are very unsupported in this society. We've
Yeah.
become very isolationist, especially here
Right.
in America, and there's no support systems like there used to be. There used to be family and connection and community, and no one was raising children alone. Now,
Right.
not only are we raising them alone, but many of us are no longer sending them to the public school systems, but we're raising them in our homes with educating them 100%. And
Right.
that's a lot for one person. Throw
It
in
is.
housework and managing the finances and making sure all the appointments are taken care of and managing the family calendar. And oh, let's not forget that I'm the one that has to schedule the appointment for the car repairs, like all of these things that the woman does. And when she gets off of work, she's still working because she's got to keep up with all of these things and do the laundry and everything.
Right.
Then we wonder why women are burned out, they're tired, they don't want to do it anymore. They don't
Yeah.
want to even be in relationships anymore because they can do all of that by themselves anyway, and they don't need the support or the help of a man. So we see this shift and this dynamic in, how the experience is. And I don't know about for you, but for me and for a few other people, and I'm certain this is probably similar for you too, that there's a significant somatic experience that comes with that.
Yeah.
Being in that space of helplessness, hopelessness, like you're just tired, no support, you're done. How that feels is sometimes so weighted and so heavy.
Mm,
And I think that's why that makes the kind of work that we do that much more important, is because people don't realize that they're just carrying all of this like low negative energy around in their physical form, in their energetic body as well, that's then causing illness. It's causing more emotional issues and mental health issues. And I mean, the list could go on and on.
yeah.
Definitely. We're not tuned in anymore. I think
Hmm.
more of us are starting to tune into our bodies, starting to listen. And I really think that this last new moon that happened, the Virgo new moon that happened over the weekend, as the sun was moving into Virgo as well, was such a pivotal catalyzing moment, because this was the energy that came in that was like, okay, ladies, it's time for you to take care of yourselves.
Hmm.
And I think everyone's feeling it.
Yeah.
And I think the men are kind of feeling a little bit of push in the opposite direction. They're like, oh crap.
Right.
She's
You know,
taking care of herself now. What do I do?
what do I do? I don't know how to cook a grilled cheese sandwich. Um, the so the superpower of women, and really this is by nature, right? So we are intended to the whole process of creating, gestating, and birthing, right, is a nurturing process. It is a gestational time period, right, of creating something. I heard the word the other day, women take everything and we amplify it, we multiply it,
So
right?
true.
So we take the sperm, we add it to the egg, we create a child or many children in some cases, right? So twins, triplets, quadruplets, whatever. So we have this potential to exponentially open up. We have a sensitivity because we're the ones who tend to read and follow our children more closely, emotionally and energetically, because it is our nurturing capability that's supposed to identify when our kids need us. Now, back to Dr. Sears and Dr. Farber, you know, women were taught to act like men when it came to our children. I love to see this nurturing experience coming back in mothering of I'm going to carry my baby with me all the time. My child, you know, if they fall and scrape their knee, you might just wipe it off and go, honey, you're going to be okay, because it's good to build resilience.
Yeah.
But if they're really hurt, they really need you to like grab them and hug them.
Mhm.
I see women who did not experience that with their parents now doing it with their own children, which is a wonderful thing. We are in a pendulum swing in that regard, right? So that at some level we've over enabled. Now we need to come back to the middle and balance this nurturing with resilience. We'll get there.
Yeah.
But the we women were open, right? We are this open vessel for everybody else's emotion because we want to be tied into nurture. The thing we don't do very well is shut it off when it needs to be shut off, right? We don't set boundaries of it because we're not taught how to manage the energetics of that.
Mhm. Yeah. And we don't tend to our own energy very well at
We
all.
don't. We don't. And we're not taught to, regardless of what teaching, religion, no religion, school, whatever, there isn't a conversation about this is an energetic field. It's been scientifically measured. It can be woo, it can be not woo. This has been scientifically measured. The heart is 10 times more energetically powerful than the brain.
Mhm. Yeah.
Now, there's a great book called The Theory of Love, which I started reading. It's three um, PhD psychologists who specialize in three different things started this conversation about love and emotion, and how they've avoided it scientifically because it's messy and not measurable. But they said we can't avoid it any longer. We need to understand a little bit better. And one of the things that they have identified and now have been able to measure is that there's a coherence that happens between people. And in that coherence, a, a a love forms. And I love that I think the Greeks have like 7 names for love because it defines love as friendship love, pure love for everyone. That's the agape love, etc. I don't know the 7 off the top of my head, but they each define love. We put love in a bucket and we go, oh, knight in shining armor, and Hallmark film love. And it's not any of that, right? In its truest form. Um, but we need to also then have boundaries and compassion for ourselves,
Mhm.
which is not selfish, because when you establish boundaries and compassion for yourself, you teach people how to treat you. So now you're not being treated like crap anymore. And also it you're not being drained so hard that you run out of capacity, empty bucket. You now are filled up with your bucket, and then the overflow helps everyone around you.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so the thing that women want to do the most, nurture and give compassion, we can do that after we nurture and give compassion to ourselves.
Mhm.
And so you mentioned somatic experience. The thing about that is we're so full up with the drama, the trauma, the complaining, the irritation, the nervous system stressors, the phone and the schedules and the money and the this, that, and the other thing, all with like very false, limited, scarce beliefs behind them. So we're so full up with that, it's very hard to have that space for love and compassion. So as we start to like unpack those things, the false beliefs, the things that are, causing us to sacrifice ourselves for all kinds of other things, when we unpack that, we make a little bit of space. But to make that space, sometimes we have to have the somatic experience, meaning a physical experience of whatever that emotion is. I
Mhm.
had one yesterday. Um, I remember the first somatic experience I had, and yesterday's was similar to it, which was really interesting. The first somatic experience I had was the day I quit my job in order to pursue my passion. I didn't know then what that looked like. I just knew that I had to get out of that environment. So I handed in my resignation. I talked to them. I was cool, calm, and collected, shaking on the inside, like, but cool, calm, and collected. I come home. I had a meeting with someone set up. So I'm having the meeting with her. And 4 times during the meeting, I went and I violently vomited in the toilet. I didn't know. I suspected it had to do with the stress that I'd been holding on with my work and everything else, but I did not know how connected it was until later. Um, but that was talk about somatic experience,
Yeah,
right?
I imagine so.
Yeah.
Yeah. You brought up that book, and it reminded me of another book that I read. I've actually read this one a couple of times as well. It's called The Molecules of Emotion by Dr. Candace Pert.
Oh, yeah. Great book.
I love the way that she tells it too, because even though she's giving you this, science-backed perspective, it comes from a very compassionate storyteller kind of place. And to hear her story and hear her own experiences of things, it helped to validate my own experiences
Right.
and put it into perspective,
Yeah.
because I'm the kind of person that generally will try to manage emotion. I will, I'll feel it. If I need to cry, I'll cry. And then, okay, I'm done, moving on. you know, and I think that's probably a bit of my Capricorn moon. It's just, I'm very pragmatic when I look at emotion. I'm okay to feel it. I feel it. And now I'm done. I don't need to wallow in it. I'm just not a wallower by and
Yeah.
large.
We
But
don't set up camp there.
no, definitely not. But I do see different like waves coming through, and I feel like this kind of attributes to the mystic spiral, as I call it. It's as you're growing, as you're evolving, as you're ascending through your evolution as a human being,
Yeah.
you encounter the same sadnesses, the same griefs, the same frustrations, but at a different octave, so that you can
Mm,
heal a different level of that wound or a different layer of the onion that you are, that is
yeah.
made up of all of your experiences.
Right.
So to be able to like bring that out into the world, because I think that's kind of where we have to be at now as women. We went through a season collectively where we were doing the healing work. We were really focusing on learning about it, understanding it. And
Hmm.
then we came into a season of actually applying it. And we've systematically broken ourselves down, built ourselves back up, broken ourselves down again because that one didn't quite work, built ourselves back up again. So it's been a couple years of this back and forth of like trying to figure ourselves out and put ourselves where we want to be, but that
Yeah.
is also authentically aligned with who we are.
Right.
And in that process, we've all become kind of isolated. And now we're seeing something different. We're seeing all of the seeds that we were planting during that season of breakdown and rebuild are now beginning to bloom. This is
Mm,
our springtime. Even though we're getting ready to head into the fall season, this is the springtime of femininity coming
yeah.
back into the world. I believe that. And I don't think it's coming from a place of like feminazi kind of nonsense. Like
Right.
I think it's genuine femininity, we understand who we understand who we are, we understand the power that we have, and not to dominate or to lord over, but
Mm,
to be sovereign in,
mm.
and to trust in our own effect in the world.
Yeah.
We are here for more.
Right.
And so then, as these flowers are beginning to bloom, as we're starting to come out, we're seeing more and more women talking about this openly and
Yeah.
being able to convey it in a way that I think by and large is helpful to men. There are still some men who are looking at women like, oh, that's, oh, whatever. But that's their own stuff. They're just projecting, right?
Right. Right.
But
Or they're NPCs.
exactly. That are just there to agitate and rile up people. But there's another group of men who are talking about it as well. And they're like, hey, fellas, if you've been doing this, it's okay for you to own it, admit it, but then let's work on changing it. Let's be better
Yeah.
now. So we're
Hmm.
starting to see now, since the feminine has brought herself up to a point of self-care and self-respect, now the masculine is starting to rise.
Mm-hmm.
It seems slow, but it's happening. But you can feel that shift again, this idea of this like somatic, it's a very somatic shift. And if you're not aware that all of these energies are coming in and all of these things are going on in the ethereal, in the subtle realm, then you're not going to know why you're feeling that way. Maybe you're feeling really exhausted one day for no reason. You're like, oh,
Right.
I just worked myself too hard. No, honey, you probably just got a huge heart upgrade
Yep.
overnight while you were sleeping. There's huge solar codes. The frequencies of Earth are shifting. It's bananas. Like,
It is bananas right now. There's a
if
lot
you're not
going on.
aware of this, you know.
Yeah.
So being able to give yourself some grace in that,
Yeah.
first of all, and allow yourself to drop back into the feminine. Allow these men to step up. Allow them to take the control of the things that you guys have been carrying all along. Now, I think we should probably tell our listeners that that may not work in all cases because some
Right.
people already have too much control. So use your own
Yes.
discretion, of course. But um,
I like the idea of using the concept of a container. So
mm,
this was a definition. By the way, if anybody is watching this or like, why is she yawning? Why? These are somatic reactions as we're talking about this. The body is releasing things. So there's always this, for me especially, there's always this processing of releasing things that don't serve me, even in the course of conversation. So the in Shiva and Shakti, in the Hindu experience, Shiva being the masculine, Shakti being the feminine is this creation energy, which is uncontained. It's chaotic. It can become huge. It can shrink down. It has all of this grand flexibility. Um, None of the universe could exist without that level of chaos. I mean, if you think about the concept that an acorn becomes an oak tree, there is a whole lot of expansion and multiplication and change, chaos that needs to happen within it. But then an oak tree looks like an oak tree, so it has a container to it. The same thing holds true with sperm meets egg. Egg is a singular nuclei, right? So sperm meets egg, all of a sudden it becomes a one celled, and then it splits and divides. And okay, so the cell membrane is the container. What happens within it? So that's the masculine. What happens within it is the creative force of the feminine. So the feminine can be wild and destructive. She can be very destructive, but she can also is creative force. So my analogy is like if you need to remodel your bathroom, you have to deconstruct what's there now. Get creative, that's the feminine, right? What colors, what tile, how do you want it to look, how do you want to lay it out? Those are all very creative forces. And then the container is built, structured by the masculine. And then we put, then we come in and we have these experiences within, soaking in the bathtub, having, come in its really pretty colors or whatever it is, right? So that's the balance between the masculine and feminine. I like the idea of a container. So in relationship, how it's supposed to be is that the masculine creates the container, the safe space for the feminine to go wild and create. Right? Not that men can't be creative, because there's a balance between there's a balance of masculine and feminine that should exist in all people,
Yeah.
regardless of the gender expression that comes out, without wanting to walk into the genome and the SNPs and everything else,
Let's
right?
not worry about that.
So the expression of those two energies, container, creation, we express those together, and that's the relationship we're going for within ourselves, right? So I'm creating this new business, if you will, stress rescue, and the purpose is to help people grow, so bring that water line of stress down so that they can have capacity to create within their joy. That container is stress rescue. What happens within it has the creative potential to be almost anything. That's the balance of the masculine and feminine within the business. So it exists in all spaces. There's masculine and feminine in the trees, in the flowers, in the water. The river bank is the masculine. The water is the feminine. So that's what we're going for, is this balance within. And when we talk about it from a somatic expression standpoint, a suppressed feminine in that creative, you were talking about the expression of emotion and the transition of the seasons. By the way, menopause is the transition from a 28.5 day to a 24-hour experience of the physical. Okay. So that's what menopause is that transition, which I find very curious, because so many women come into menopause, come into their power, and they create businesses that, like Martha Stewart's a great example. She's 50 when she started her business. She's a billionaire. She didn't do much of anything prior to that. That's true for many, many, many people, is they don't start until later. So we move into our crone phase, is when we truly sort of launch these things. But the somatic experience of, I need to make space. So I might curl up in the fetal position because I had an experience in utero of my mom being stressed out, and I got all those energies and whatever, and I embedded them in my body, and I'm like this until they begin to break free. And then then there is this. That's why embodiment is one of my favorite things to do, because as we go into the intention of, I want to heal, let's just say I want to heal age 3. I don't know what happened age 3. I don't remember all of that. My body remembers. So when I go into the intention of embodiment or ecstatic dance or breath work or yoga or any of these number of things we do to embody and clear somatically, then what is going to come through might be beautiful. It might be ugly. It might be movement. It might be stillness. It might be screaming, crying, vomiting. Give me any number of things. That is the somatic expression. The key is, don't stop it from happening.
Oh, yeah.
Let
Well,
it have
and
space to create.
yeah, and that's such an important aspect of Ayurveda as well. In the Ayurvedic tradition, they tell you don't suppress anything that's meant to come out. And I found out something interesting, that as we're exploring the somatic experience, and I've always kind of used my body as a barometer anyway, unconsciously, but now I'm much more conscious of it.
Yeah.
And I have noticed this, feeling of suppression in my voice quite
Mm,
often. There was
yeah.
there was something that you mentioned earlier. I actually took notice of it. Oh, you were using an interesting word for a lady's nether regions. I don't know if we'll get flagged for that, so I'm not going to put that word on here.
The P word.
Yes, but I noticed this, it almost felt like I got punched in the throat every time you said it. And I was like,
Right.
ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I have some sort of resistance to that word, because to me, that word carries a very sexual connotation to it. So it was interesting to have that experience and to see that. And I've noticed too, this is where it kind of gets wild for me. So I mentioned that I've been doing theta healing with a friend of mine. And I didn't really know much about theta healing. Like I had the basis of it, that it was kind of similar to emotion code, but on a deeper level, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, great, perfect. Yes, I will be your guinea pig. Let's do it. And I've seen things release. I've seen belief patterns that don't really like I mentioned earlier, you had mentioned, oh, I'm going to have to raise $6 million to be able to do this project. And I was like, oh, $6 million doesn't seem like a lot. Whereas
Right.
before, whenever you would say a price tag over $1 million, I felt like I got punched in the gut. I was like, oh, like that feels
Right.
terrible,
Right.
And it was that very somatic experience that started to make me aware of my beliefs around money, my beliefs around self-worth, my beliefs around
Yeah.
relationships, career, the whole 9 yards. Oddly, it started in the shift in my belief system, in what people would consider faith. I was a very religious person, and that's when I started to get more aware of my body. I had like an awakening
Mm.
experience that taught me how to hear God differently.
Right.
And now I feel fully connected to that. I know instantly if something is good. And the trick is, I've always known, but I always went against what I knew in my body to be true. And every time I did that, I betrayed myself. I betrayed my own intuition. I betrayed my own trust. And as a result of that, I was never very sure of myself. In the last couple of years, I've really leaned into my intuition and I really pushed. Like, no, I'm going to listen to myself unapologetically and not let other people sway me. I'm going to
Yeah.
have the final say in my life. And
Hmm.
what I've seen is time and time again, when I don't listen to my intuition, when I don't listen to that still small voice, the God, God, the universe, whatever you want, it's a divine intelligence. I know that. I
Yeah.
know that for
And
a
it's
fact.
within.
Exactly. And my body is the holy temple of that, and I have to honor that, right?
Yes.
But this voice will come in and it will be so sure and so swift and so instantaneous that I have to really grab it or I'll miss it. I'll miss the opportunity and then I'll start to second guess myself and I'll overthink it and it's ridiculous.
Right.
I logic things out to death. I overanalyze everything. But whenever I just listen to my intuition, bam, it goes better than I ever expected.
Mm.
If I
Yeah.
don't listen, if I fight against it, I am met with calamity and chaos and turmoil and frustration, and it's absolute unalignment.
Hmm.
So I'm learning when my body says, don't do that. I'm like, okay,
Yeah. Got it.
I'm not gonna eat that cheeseburger. Got it.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Instead of getting the message after I ate the cheeseburger, I'm getting the message before.
That sounds good. I want to point out something important that you did, that if this is newer for people, I want to suggest this slight pivot in response. So you said, when you mentioned raising $6 million, when you mentioned the P word, I had this punch in the gut feeling. That is your body going, hey, 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 oh, let's work on this.
Mhm.
Let's get into this.
Exactly.
The idea that there's an expansive, limitless, universal creative force means that $6 million is not a large amount of money. It's not.
Not at all.
It means that when you get that punch in the gut, that's your intuition going, oh, wait, you've got a limit here. You've got a resistance here, a binding, a bondage, or whatever you want to call it. Let's work on that.
Mhm.
So don't avoid it. Don't run from it. Now, if you don't know what to do about it, sketch it down and then schedule something with Jessica or I, and let's work you through that. But the key there is, you mentioned it again, don't let it pass by.
Mhm.
Go into your phone notes and make some notes on some things that you got triggered by, punched in the gut by, felt. right? Somebody cuts you off in traffic, you find yourself screaming and yelling, and you go, why am I mad at this person?
Mhm.
Something to work on, right?
Yeah.
So sketch that down. Let's put it in the session work that we do. The the idea being that there's something unpacked there. There's an opportunity for expansion there, because we do live in this limitless, fully creative, incredibly expansive, wonderful universe that is, we won't get into the observation and the, the waveform collapses to fun. We won't get into all of those things, but there is science behind it. There is woo
Yeah.
behind it. There is hell, heaven, right?
Mhm.
So let's get it out of here and into here and figure out what it is, somatically release it, and then make space for all the wonderful things that are ahead of you, all the wonderful things that maybe you aren't even aware of yet. I wouldn't have 10 years ago, I would not have told you that I'd be living where I live, doing what I do, planning on spending $10 million to build my dream. Not I The money's not here yet. It's coming. Where it comes from, I'll be curious to see, but I have full faith and confidence that it's on its way. I'm meant to be here. Everything aligned and conspired for me to be here. I just followed the threads, right? Sell your house in Michigan and move to Florida. What? What are you talking about? I don't move to Florida. Go to Florida and build houses. Be so stressed out that you're to the point of collapse. And then we're going to put you in Kentucky and you're going to have nothing to do for 8 months. Nothing. You're going to try stuff. It's not going to work. And then you're going to dive deep into the murky depths of ugh, that's down there and come up and go, yeah, I'm raising $10 million.
Yeah, that's kind of how this
Oh, and
works.
by the way, I'm raising more after that because we're going to build houses under $250,000 so people can afford them. We're going to build this. We're going to do that. I would do some co-living. We're going to build a house to help women coming out of domestic assault have a place to come to, and then we're going to offer coursework on how to build your credit, build a business, run a business. We're going to have all of that. All of that is coming,
Mhm.
right? How it gets funded, I'll be curious to see how that happens, but I have no doubt that it'll happen.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have had the capacity for that a year ago.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
somatically is difficult. Like you said, there's days when you're exhausted. Your body goes, no, 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 you're going to sit because we're going to share a whole lot of shit with you today.
Yeah. Or or not even exhausted. There are times when I just feel like for some reason I just got hit by the grief bus for no reason at all. And I'm not one that really hides grief. If I'm feeling sad about something, I
Mhm.
release it, I let it out. But I think that sometimes it's just a wave of stuff that maybe we didn't realize we were grieving, the loss of our younger self, the loss of an old identity. It doesn't necessarily have to be loss in the traditional sense. It can be just a shifting that we never really had the chance to celebrate, and we kind of
Mhm.
miss that part of us. Or like I miss my children's baby years, and I'm glad that they are where they are now. They're amazing little people, but just it's okay to kind of mourn those things if the energy hits you that way, and you can sit in it for a while. Again, like you said, don't camp there, but feel it, process it. And I really love that you added this caveat of when that feeling comes up, when you feel the punch in the gut or the punch in the throat or something, when that comes up, that is to bring awareness. I think fear comes to us in the same way. We
Mm.
are confronted by our own fears, not to be limited by them, but to conquer them, to face up to the challenge and go, oh, okay, I understand that I'm afraid of that expansion, but let's look at it honestly.
Mm.
How is that expansion going to benefit me in the future? How is it going to benefit the people around me, the world at large?
Mhm.
Your world, everyone in it, is ultimately only going to be benefited by your expansion into your highest expression of yourself.
Yeah.
It's never going to be diminished. And for
Right.
some reason, so many of us are so afraid to follow our calling against all possible judgment, right? I'm guilty. Because we have been taught that our value is somehow attached to what we produce or how we behave. And really, none of that matters. We're here for a purpose. And come hell or high water, you're either going to live out your purpose or you're going to have to come back and do it again until you do.
Well, you're already living that other lifetime. You
Yeah.
just need to choose the right opportunity timeline.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say this strongly to women who are dealing with chronic physical pain, chronic illness, chronic fatigue, autoimmune. From personal and professional experience, over 50% of that, potentially more, is your emotional experiences that you've had throughout your life, how you reacted to them, whether you processed them, whether you let them go or shove them down, the times when you didn't speak up for yourself, the time when you didn't say no or yes to
Yeah.
something you truly wanted,
Every
right?
time you abandoned yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is not to give you shame or fault,
Mhm.
right? This is this is eons of programming of women that you are not allowed to speak for yourself. You are not allowed to. You think about how they vilified these female characters in history who said, "I'm not limited by your rules. I'm going to do it anyway." What you see now is, here's a good example. The Brooklyn Bridge, right? It
Mhm.
was built in the late 1800s, 1870s, I think it was. Don't quote me on that, please. If you look it up and I'm wrong, I fully admit I don't know the exact date. Around that time period, it was the Gilded Age. Okay, so New York City was coming up, America was starting to really build itself. The project was awarded to a man, an engineer, structural engineer who had trained in Europe. His wife traveled with him and went to all the same conferences he did. She's like, I'll just go with you, right? They started the project and he got very ill. He could not physically do the project. So their business partner hid the fact that he was at home in bed while she finished the engineering and project managed the construction of the Brooklyn Bridge. It wasn't discovered until it was mostly built that she had done that, but they kept the secret for a long time because people would have been like, I can't drive across the bridge. A woman built it. So they purposely hid that fact. Now it's coming out that she did that. We're seeing stories of women who said, I'm intelligent. I don't care what you believe about women, but I'm intelligent, capable, and I'm going to do this. This is my calling. I'm going to go here. There were women who were pioneers of quantum physics, women who've been pioneers of relativity, etc., women who've pioneered medical interventions, all kinds of things. So I love the phrase necessity is the mother of invention, right? The mother of invention. That's hugely important. So back to my point. We've stuffed all this things in here because society told us to. Now you don't have the space for the joy in your life that you want. It's in there. It's just kind of packed in among all of the pain.
Mm-hmm. And
So
we're not meant to be the containers for all of that.
absolutely not. Absolutely not. There's no reason to hang on to all of that. So that's why I created Stress Rescue, because I was that person. That's why Jessica does what she does with her clients. We work a little differently, but generally we do this because we have very aligned belief systems, right?
Yeah.
And I want to send this message. You don't have to stay there. If you look around, you're probably seeing more of your girlfriends, and I'm seeing this with women, like they're divorcing. I'm not saying that's the answer. I'm saying this is what I'm witnessing. They are divorcing because they have lived under what they believe to be an oppressive situation. And now they said, oh, my spirit wants out of this container. And so we perceive the first container to be the marriage, the kids, etc., because that's the most present for women. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Maybe the first container to get free from is right here.
Mm-hmm. Well, and so for me specifically, I felt like it was the container of the mind, the belief systems, being free of telling myself that I wasn't good enough unless I performed
Mhm.
100%,
Right,
110%, you know.
right.
And I even raised my children with this belief, like you don't just give your best, you give more than your best. You give
Mhm.
110%. And I still believe that.
Yeah,
Um, but I give a lot more grace to myself and to others when they don't exactly give 110%. But to be able to pass this knowledge along now that we are kind of coming out into this blossoming phase and being able to say, you know, enough is enough. We are not going to stand for subpar treatment. We are going to stand up for ourselves, defend ourselves, protect ourselves, and go after our dreams as well, whether or not the people involved in our lives want to come with us or not. Some
right.
women are burning all of the bridges. I'm not saying you should do that, you know, but it's going to depend on your unique situation. The
Yeah.
key, though, is like you said earlier, being able to balance the nurturing with the resilience,
Mhm.
especially as we exhibit it to our children. Because
Yeah.
even so, whatever midlife crisis we might be going through at the moment, we are still mothers. If
Still
you're
mothers, still have
you know
things to do, right?
you're still a mom, you're still a wife, you're still a sister, a daughter, whatever responsibilities you have, you still have, these roles, but that doesn't mean that you're defined by them.
Right.
And it doesn't mean that you have to suppress yourself, suppress your emotions, sequester your thoughts just because it makes someone else uncomfortable.
Mhm.
I think we're done with that. I think we've done our time
Agreed.
for more than 2,000 years. For what? We don't even know. If you look at the way that women were demonized, most of the time it was by religious organizations or political organizations. There were societies that were completely ruled by women. There are still societies today where men are not even allowed in the community. And I'm not saying that we should go that route either. I'm saying we should call these men to healing,
Yeah.
but we can't stop our own healing to wait for someone else because everyone's
Right.
got their own journey, their own pace. So if you're feeling pushed up against the wall, like Juliana said, we have opportunity to, connect and to help guide you through that. We have
Yeah.
community that we can offer you as well so that you have support. Sometimes it's a lonely road when you're doing the heavy lifting and you don't have that equal share, but the work that you're doing is so important.
Yeah.
The
It
healing
really
work
is.
is important. If you're here, you're on the right track.
Right. I ran across something that I think might be helpful to give perspective to someone who's not quite sure that this is them. So I want you to think about these things. These are roles that women often take on, and it's usually because we did not have a healthy female role model. So the first one in the list is the overachiever. You chase success and productivity to feel worthy because you were only praised for what you did, not who you were.
Yep.
Okay. The peacekeeper. You learn to keep everyone happy, even at your own expense, because conflict in your home felt unsafe and explosive. There was no conflict in my home because everything got unresolved. It was left unresolved. So I had to learn how to, first, I had to learn how to do conflict, and then I had to learn how to do healthy growth based conflict, if you will. The
Okay.
caregiver, you are parentified early becoming emotionally responsible for a parent, a sibling, their moods, instead of the other way around. In other words, you didn't have someone, you were having a bad day and a mood swing as a 4 year old, and you don't know why. You can't process that cognitively as a 4 year old, but you also didn't have someone to come to you and say, tell me what's going on. How can I
Mhm.
help you work through this? Come, let me hold you while you work through these emotions. You didn't have that. And so you didn't have parenting in the healthiest sense. The
Mhm.
invisible one. You stayed quiet, agreeable, and small, hoping that being low maintenance would keep you from being criticized.
Mm.
I did number one because of the criticism to avoid it. The strong one, you learn to hide pain and carry everything alone because vulnerability was seen as weakness and met with ridicule. I also did it because of number two, the parentified piece of it.
Mhm.
There
Yeah.
wasn't anybody coming to help me,
Yeah, most of these people have them all.
right? The fixer, you made it your job to manage everyone's emotions, believing that if you could keep the peace, you might finally feel safe.
That's me. I call myself Florence Nightingale.
Yeah. I eventually, because I did that for so long, I eventually did the opposite. As soon as I was feeling unsafe in a situation, I left. Now, I left consciously knowing that that space and the silence was going to help the other person realize that their behavior was creating an unsafe environment.
Mm. And see,
Because
I'm only
fighting,
just now doing that.
because fighting against that person made it worse. So I
Mhm.
had to go the opposite swing. Okay. The perfectionist. You fear making mistakes because your worth is tied to being good, polite, or emotionally easy to manage. I was never that one. I was a perfectionist, but not for that reason. I was a
Oh.
perfectionist because we had to keep outward appearances up.
Mhm.
I had to always, and that made me the chameleon personality wise. In different situations, I was a different person.
Mhm.
Now I'm generally this for most of the time. Do I have quieter periods or louder? Yeah. Okay. There is some situational stuff. But generally is what you get.
Yeah. You bring up an interesting point because I noticed that I was looking at something was in regards to parents and how generally parents don't hold their their male children accountable for emotional outbursts. Like, for
Mm,
example, a boy might have a temper tantrum or something, and the mom, instead of showing him that that was not okay, just kind of like backs off for a little while and then still shows him love and affection instead of setting a clear boundary like, no, that behavior is not acceptable, we're not going to do that again.
yeah.
Whereas little girls are generally raised to manage other people's emotions. Act like a lady, behave, dressed this way,
Be a
speak
good
this
girl.
way. Yes, be a good girl. And so we have this like lopsided dynamic in our society now where all of these women have been taught how to perform, and all of these men have been taught that they don't even have to put in the work to fix the problem. It's still going to be okay because mommy said so. You know what I mean? Like from a
And that an emotional outburst is perfectly acceptable.
yes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. One of my big conversations right now has been it is no longer acceptable to treat people well in public and treat your family like shit.
Mm,
No longer acceptable. If
yeah.
you're having trouble with something, deal with it. If you're emotionally dysregulated, you're angry all the time, you're frustrated about this, you're mad about your mom, you're mad about work, you're mad, deal with it. But do not pack it up, bring it home, and unload it on your wife and kids any longer. It's not acceptable. And by the way, women, not acceptable for you to do it on your husband and kids either.
Hmm.
I had to take full responsibility to that. I did it. I packed it all, came home, and I was a raging, crazy woman some nights. That was not fair to my kids, and I've apologized multiple times and took responsibility for it and intentionally. And I heard this said, it's not fake it till you make it. This is who I want to become, so I'm going to practice that person every single day. If I want to be the person that isn't raging all the time with my family at home, I have to be the first person to go, ooh, I feel the rage. Shit, can't do that. Okay, go quiet. And take responsibility and say to your family, I'm not in a good place right now. Give me a half an hour and go and take a half an hour because that is far better for you and your family
Hmm.
than raging and apologizing.
Yeah, it really is. I agree 100%. As a young mother, I was very, I think looking back at it now, I think I was just unsupported and feeling like that, feeling overwhelmed by all of the responsibility of being a mom and having to handle all of that and,
Yeah.
being a homeschooler and everything. I think it just took its toll on me, and I would react out of anger when the kids would get me to my breaking point, and I would always end up, I'm so sorry, and I got to a point where I was like, this is ridiculous. I cannot, this is not sustainable for me, and it's certainly not beneficial for my children. Like, I know that. So I really had to get my anger under control, and it was a lengthy process of me being able to, like, I started out with just count to 10. So
Mhm.
before, like, if I could feel, okay, my blood pressure's starting to rise, I'm starting to get aggravated, okay, count to 10. Slow my breathing down, count to 10. And it was just something simple to
Yeah.
re-regulate myself down. And
Yep.
now I don't even have to count to 10. I just take a deep breath and I'm like, okay, I'm good. Everything's fine,
It's all good.
and I can then respond clearly. I can communicate so that my sweet little child who just wants my attention doesn't have a permanent scar on their heart because mommy didn't have time for them. I
Right.
can say, mommy is feeling overwhelmed right now, or mommy is working on something. Can you give me a few minutes? And then I can provide my undivided attention. Or more often than not, what I'll do is I will say, you know what? If I am this aggravated that I'm getting ready to explode on my child just because they want my attention, I should be taking a break from my work.
Yeah.
I'm going to put my work aside for a minute. I'm
Mhm.
going to spend some time loving on my child because obviously that's what I need as much as they do.
Absolutely.
And it's 5 minutes. Like, really, like, my kids are just like, okay, I love you, bye. My older ones, they want to talk quite a lot. I love them.
Mm.
They're very talkative. But my younger ones are like, okay, bye. you know,
Right.
they don't
That's all
need
we
a lot.
needed. Yeah.
And they're full, I'm full, and then I can come back to my work and be like, okay, there was no reason for me to get out of hand and show my child that I wasn't able to control my emotions
Mhm.
when I could just recenter my energy, notice that somatic experience of getting angry, getting agitated, and redirect the energy in a different way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So helpful.
Hugely, hugely beneficial. Mine was a little different, but still, and everybody needs to handle it the way that they process and navigate. Um, the question that I remember hearing was, will it grow weeds or flowers?
Mm.
So I had to filter myself, similar to your 10 seconds. Mine was, do I want to say what's about to blow out of my mouth? Or do I want to hold it, maybe rewrite it, maybe not say it at all? And so I did a cognitive process, which gave me enough space to get the energy down for me to go, okay. And I'm, I have to boundary, especially my youngest son, who is an amazing, wonderful, incredible person. But I'll be working on something focused. I'm doing my thing. I'm in mode. I'm typing. I'm writing. Everything's good. And he'll come up and go, "Mom, look at this Instagram post." Like, and I used to get like, now I'm like, dude,
Mhm.
writing,
Yeah.
and he gets it. Dude, writing means I'll talk to you later, right? But
Well,
we
but
had to
that
get to
comes
that
from
point.
communication,
Yeah.
right? You had to tell him that. I've had to have the same conversation with mine because they wanted to look at this video, and even my husband does. Like, everyone in the house does
Yeah.
this to me while I'm working. They see, like, I'm intently working, and I've had to sit there several times and be like, "Listen, I love you. I want to
Yes.
see what you want to show me, but if you see me intently focused, don't
Hmm.
interrupt my focus."
Yeah.
And now, because they have that clear communication of
Mhm.
my needs and my boundaries, because I
Yep.
actually set some,
Right.
which moms don't usually do, and they know I'm still
Yeah.
present, I'm still available,
Right.
but you're going to have to wait. I see now that you want my attention. You're going to have to wait until I finish my thought,
Hmm.
and then I'll be with you. And it's so much
Yeah.
better.
And so it's funny because now Liam will bank like 7 or 8 of them. And then when he sees me, like, I'll just finish dinner and I'm kind of hanging out, scrolling anyway, be like, Mom, look at this, 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 look at this. Like, and that's fine. That's fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's cool because you haven't interrupted the flow that I was in. So, yeah, we get there. We do. We really get there. It
Yeah.
may seem hopeless because you feel like it's just so overwhelming. And the key, I think, is is
Okay.
to find people who've been there, who
Yeah.
have, are a handful of couple of miles ahead of you on the trail, who can say, okay, when you get to this point, this is how we navigate it, or practice this, or do this, or set this up. I'm working with someone on some social media stuff, and she's like, okay, when you get up first thing in the morning, you need to check that. I said, I don't do anything first thing in the morning. I don't.
Mm-mm, me
My
neither.
first boundary is the first hour of the day. There's no electronics.
Hmm.
I might meditate. I might go outside and walk. I might breath work. I might do my Qigong. I might have a chat with Doug about nothing. But the first hour of the day is not work focused. It's me focused. Because when I do that, I can set my nervous system up. I talked early on about that 30%. I
Mm.
can set my nervous system up so where I have sort of a boundary on that 30% versus I'm going to wake up and go to 90 and then I got to find my way back down to 30. Mm-mm.
Exactly.
I
Well,
come up to 30.
what I've seen is a lot of women, especially those who work, they'll, go do all the rigmarole of their day. And then finally, when the kids are asleep, right before they go to bed, they want to take care of themselves. But by then they're so exhausted. They're like, oh, screw it. Let me just have a glass of wine and I'm going to go to bed.
Mhm.
And it's so
Right.
tragic because, like, I will wake up early if I need to spend time with myself
Yeah.
because I need that. I need time to journal. I need time to,
Hmm.
read a book that I'm interested in or meditate or, like you said, any of these things just to be able to fill my cup. Because if
Yeah.
I don't start my day with a full cup, I'm not pouring into anybody. You all
Yeah.
can forget it. I'm tapped out. I'm done.
Right.
So I
Right.
agree. I don't start my day with electronics either. I tend to be I'll spend, 30 to 45 minutes just meditating in the morning because I
Hmm.
have like an ocean track that plays while I sleep to drown out the noises of the
Hmm.
city around me.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
so when I wake up in the morning, I'm wide awake, but I'm just like, this is such a nice thing to meditate to. So I just sit there and
Right.
I breathe with the sound of the ocean
Right.
before I get up and I start my day. But even after that, my day is still about me. I actually have 2.5 hours scheduled for myself every day
Beautiful.
because I feel like I need that.
Yeah.
That way, if I need to take a shower that day or feel like doing my makeup, that like I have plenty of time for me to do
Yeah.
me
Right.
before I
Right.
have to deal with all the chaos of the
Yeah.
day.
Yeah. I wanted to make another point from this is going to, a little bit of biochemistry, a little bit of Chinese body clock in a short version. 10 p.m. is almost an ideal bedtime for adrenal balance, for cortisol balance. We didn't talk about circadian rhythms and sunlight, and there's no 10 o'clock is a great, like super easy. We can plug that into our brains. Okay, so preparing for bed about 9:30. Brushing our teeth, kind of chilling out, locking the doors. If you want to do like one last sweep of the dishes, things like that. Just start at that about 9:15, 9:30 so that you are settled into bed between 10 and 10:15. And I wake up now most days between 5 and 5:30 naturally.
Oh yeah.
6, 7 hours, 7 hours is ideal for me. My body goes, okay, we're ready. And so I get up, I use the restroom, I do a couple things around the house. I find that loading the dishwasher is easier for me at 6 in the morning than 10 o'clock at night. I just don't want to do stuff like that at night. And it's okay because you know what? They haven't gone anywhere. I wish I had a dish elf, but I don't. Um, so, but now Doug has become my dish elf because he'll get up in the morning and he'll do the dishes, and I'm like, yes, I love this. So the that is a far better thing for the biochemistry of the body. It turns the cortisol down. There's some other things you may have to do if you're cortisol rev. And you'll know that if you like when you go to settle down, you feel all of a sudden energized, your brain starts rolling, you get leg twitches and arm twitches, like if you're trying to fall asleep and then you startle awake. Those can be indications you're in a cortisol flip, and then we have a little more work to do.
Mhm.
I was there. I'm not there now. Now, like 10, I lay down. I might watch a couple of quick, listen to a little bit of YouTube meditation or someone talking. I fall asleep. I'm good. I'm good till 5, 5:15.
Mhm.
So you can reset that clock. And if you want to have that extra hour before the kids have to get up for school or, before you have to pack lunches or run off to work or whatever, your body will naturally get you up, and then you'll have that space. Um, and then it'll be easy. It's quiet. You get to watch the sunrise. You get to hear the birds wake up. There's just this element of like, I am just gently moving into my day. So I start the day at a gentle space. You can ramp up and get your work done, and then you can drop back down again and go to sleep. That's the natural rhythm of what we want to be at. And
Mhm.
yes, you can cultivate that.
And it's so much better than beep, beep, slam the alarm. Ah, I gotta get out of bed. I'm gonna be late. Gotta go hurry up and get the kids and the breakfast and pack the bag.
Right?
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh. I when when it
I did
came
it for years.
time when it came time to make the decision of whether or not we were going to put our children into school or homeschool. And my oldest son was only 4 at the time, so we were, making this decision ahead of time. I just thought to myself, "Oh my gosh, I remember what it was like being a kid and having all of that stress. No, I hated it." So I didn't want to have that stress. I didn't want to give my children that stress. I didn't like the idea of having to go sit in the pickup line and wait for the chance to drop my kid off, and like just none of that sounded like any good to me at all.
Right?
It sounded like
Right.
stress for them, stress for me. So I said, nope. Even still, I expect them to be up by a certain time during school season, but I let them wake up on their own. I don't
Mm.
wake them up. We expect them to go to bed at a certain time. I myself am like you. I'm usually in bed between 9 and 10:30. Past that, I'm no good. So,
Right?
but that's because I naturally wake up between 4 and 5:30 every morning, and
Yeah.
I'm 6.5 hours and I'm good. Like
Right.
I can go until
Mhm.
bedtime. Um, but it's because I have set up boundaries around my time and around my space. I usually go up to my bedroom a couple hours before I even go to bed so that I
Yeah.
have the chance to wind down. I can
Mhm.
journal my thoughts and get them out. So even I'm putting myself at the start of my day and I'm putting myself at the end of my day
Nice.
because I want to be able to sleep well too.
Yeah.
So I'll, put some oils on or something that's very calming and moisturizing, something that's going to help me sleep. Just preparing myself. Maybe, look over my calendar. So, okay, I know what I have to do in the morning. So I don't have to be rushing around. Going, what am I supposed to be doing? Because as an entrepreneur, you've got 10 million things to do.
Right.
And
Right.
I don't have those issues because I have set up systems and built out boundaries and structure to my day that allows me to flow in that feminine energy without burning out and without
Right.
missing anything either. I actually
Yeah.
get more done now by flowing in my feminine than I did pushing and hustling and forcing and struggling. Like way
Absolutely.
more.
Absolutely.
So much
Yeah.
easier.
And you also know what you should do and what you should delegate so much easier. Like
Yes.
I have a pile of receipts in the corner that need to be taken care of. That is not where I need to be spending my time. So I'm going to find someone. I'm going to get them a scanner. I'm going to let them scan them in. All good.
Yeah,
Happy
exactly.
crappy. I just don't need to be doing that. So, yeah, it's the perspective shift that comes from finding this centered space.
Mhm.
Pretty freaking amazing.
It really is.
It
I
really
agree.
is.
This is actually why, you're doing this stress rescue and I love this. I'm so excited to see this, really change lives. And I am actually creating something myself that's more tailored around boundaries.
Awesome.
So helping people to understand, what it means to have a boundary and enforce the boundary and what happens when someone goes against your boundary and how to maintain that and
Awesome.
communicate that and all of these things. So I'm launching that in October, so stay tuned.
Yay.
But yeah, I'm super stoked for that because I think that we're in a season now where okay, all of the women have realized they're done. They're up to this point and they're ready to take care of themselves again. They
Right.
need these tools. They need to be able to know how to bring their stress levels down to something that's manageable that can still push them forward when they need to, but
Mhm.
not drain them and kill their battery
Right.
when they need to be,
Yeah.
100%.
Well, and the self-awareness teaching you did early part of Firelight Alchemy Circle is got to be a big piece of that. So you've got that as a really nice tool set, um, that people could start with now. Because in order to set a boundary, you have to know what you want in terms of that boundary. That's the self-awareness piece. So yeah, that's awesome. I'm super excited to see it.
I know.
Yay. Yay. I love it. Well, good. I think this has been an amazing exploration. So I look forward to more. I'll invite anyone who listened to, if they're like, hey, I'm ready. I have space for new clients. I know you have space for new
I do.
clients. We're
Mhm.
still doing one work at this point in time. I won't continue that forever. My space demands, my time demands are going to shift. So this would be a really good time for people if they want one-on-one with me to come and schedule those sessions. And then same for you. I mean, they can get all kinds of amazing wisdom and experience out of it. So
Yes, I
yeah.
agree. Yay.
Yay. So good. So they can find you where?
Oh, I'm everywhere. You can find me on Facebook. That's kind of where everything is. But
Mm,
I'm on YouTube, Instagram. I'm under Overflow Wellness, but I also have Energetic Echoes. It's my other podcast,
mhm.
and of course myself, Jessica Cecil. But yeah,
Yes.
I can be found everywhere.
Now I've started changing all of my stuff over to Julianna Stress Rescue. So that's where people are going to find me. TikTok, Instagram a little bit. I'm going to do more Instagram. I will. It's not my favorite. And then of course on YouTube, which that it'll all be in alignment. So you'll be able to find me through Julianna Stress Rescue. Um,
And of course, our Firelight Alchemy Circle, right? We have our
Firelight
Facebook
Alchemy
group.
Circle. Yeah.
Come visit
Still
us there.
growing library and community. So inexpensive $20 investment gets you into that. And yeah,
And we're doing big things in there too.
we're doing big
Big
things in
things.
there. So good. So self-paced learning with us kind of helping with the tough stuff. So yeah,
And the
I
community.
love it. And a community, people to talk to, not alone. So
No.
yay. All right, my friend. Thank you again. Wonderful conversation. And I
Always.
look forward to the next one.
Yeah.